Welcome into the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Eagles Hall of Famer Seth, Joyner, and veteran Eagles reporter Derrick Gunn, as we've been with you all season long. And I think D. Gunn is just a little fired up for today's game. I mean, look, we had a phenomenal appetizer yesterday with an incredible slate of games in the NFL playoffs just last night, including the Washington Commanders now lying and waiting for who they'll take on in the NFC Championship game. And yes, we will have a segment entitled Let's Not Get Ahead of Ourselves. Still got to take care of the business at hand that is going to be against the L.A. Rams today. If you're going down to the game, obviously be safe, enjoy the tailgate, and root on your birds to victory. But the number one story that people are talking about, other than the potential of Saquon Barkley running all over the Rams as if he did in Week 12, is the weather. Seth, your experience in the NFL throughout your entire career, weather games, rain games, snow games like today, what advice would you give the Eagles heading into today, given the inclement weather slated for today's game?
Just act like it's a regular, like the weather is good. Just don't get bent out of shape with the fact that it's cold, it's snowy, whatever the conditions are, because this game today is going to take your entire focus, your entire, all your efforts, everything, all your faculties are going to be required in order for the Eagles to win this game today. So they cannot go into this game with the mindset that they're worrying about the external, things as far as the weather is concerned. Listen, they probably practice outside all week, so the cold definitely isn't bothering them. But now they just got to get over that mental hurdle that is, the snow falling around you, what the footing's going to be like. They should have been at the stadium long enough to go out and try 3-4 different types of cleats to find the right one. But, don't do anything different. Just lock in and play. Get your mind right the same way you would get it right for any other game, or the same way you got it right for last week.
All right, now, Gunnar, I know you've covered a lot of these games before in your time covering the Birds. When you look at this game, between 2 and 6 p.m. is when it's supposed to be the most intense. It just so happens the Eagles have a kickoff right in the middle of all that, and it's supposed to snow until 10 o'clock tonight. What approach do you think the Eagles are taking to this?
Basically, it's another game to them, As Seth talked about, they did practice outside all week, basically to get – don't forget there's new turf out there also. So that's another advantage. They've practiced on this turf all week long. The Rams have not. So the Rams are going to have to make the cleat adjustments, when they get out there as well. But for the Eagles, they know they are one win away now. With Detroit eliminated, they are one win away from hosting the NFC Championship game instead of having to go to Detroit to play that game. That's motivation in itself. When you look at this Rams team, the mindset should be, hey, wait a minute. Washington was the underdogs in Detroit. Nobody expected Washington to go in and do what they do. We have a chance to do some things here as well. So both teams go in with this psychological so-called advantage mentally. We can do this. Nobody expects us to. The Eagles are saying, if we take care of business, Super Bowl comes through our backyard for the NFC.
Yeah, it's funny. Going into this week, there's two things I didn't realize. One, I forgot Darius Slay. Before he spoke earlier in the week, I forgot that was his rookie year, the Snow Globe game where LaShawn McCoy ran for 217 yards
was there
against the Detroit Lions. I forgot he was a rookie that year. Talked about this isn't going to have any effect when you talk about weather. He's not going to be part of his mental approach to the game. He's just going to play as if it's any other day. The other thing I didn't realize before this week, Sean Desai, former apparent disciple of Vic Fangio, is the defensive assistant on the L.A. Rams. I did not realize that, but it doesn't really give me concern considering he was not here during the Saquon Barkley-led offense of the Philadelphia Eagles that we have enjoyed this year. Now, when you look at inclement weather like this, Seth, a lot of people might just default to the run game. They have a good running back on the other side of the football there with the Rams and Kyron Williams. Then you look at Saquon Barkley, obviously leading rusher this year. Do you expect it to be a ground game more so than even what we have seen this year due to the weather?
I think anytime you have inclement weather, the team that can dominate the line of scrimmage and run the football has a distinct advantage. The team who can run the football and dominate time of possession has had the distinct advantage all playoff long. Now, just to give you a history of the playoffs from the wild card through the two divisional games yesterday, these numbers will blow your mind. For those people who believe that you have to throw the football in order to win, that it's a quarterback-driven league. In a lot of ways, the quarterback still is the most important guy on the field, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But at the other end of the spectrums, these numbers will flat out blow your mind, okay? Because it shoots a hole into the entire theory that you got to throw the ball in order to win. That these quarterbacks have to be dominant because, Patrick Mahomes threw for 165 yards yesterday. Wasn't a very dominant, performance, but everybody will defer to, but he made all of these throws and they won the game. It looks different than what's really going on. If you really want to know the truth, if you go and you look at the numbers, the passing is way down this year in the National Football League, and these numbers throughout the playoffs bear it. Now, these are the teams that lost. In the wild card week, you had the Chargers, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Packers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Vikings lost in the wild card round. In the divisional round yesterday, you had the Texans and the Lions went down, okay? So you had 30 passes for the losing team, 21 runs on average, okay? The teams that won, okay, Baltimore Bills, Eagles, Commanders, Ravens, Chiefs, Commanders, 27 runs, 35 passes. No, that's wrong. 27 passes, 35 runs. Woo-hoo, okay? So when you average out these numbers and you begin to understand why teams are winning and why teams are losing, then you can begin to understand, exactly what's going on here. The team that can dominate, and this is why I say the Eagles are ideally set to dominate these games exactly the way that they're playing. Now, yeah, you want to get A.J. Brown involved. You want to get Devontae Smith involved. You want to get Dallas Goedert involved. You want Jalen to be more prolific in the run game and not in the pass game and not hold on to the ball. But it's pretty darn evident to me that the way teams are advancing in the National Football League throughout these playoffs, they are running the football, okay, which is setting up play action pass, and it's allowing them to dominate time of possession, dominate the line of scrimmage. The Eagles today will dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They will run the ball on offense, and they will play straight, really good defense, run defense on the other side, and they have the advantage doing that. And having the advantage doing that, I don't want to give you all my prediction yet, but, the ball's in the Eagles' court, 100%. Just do what you got to do so you can get the championship game here. If you just don't go out here today, this is not the day, D-Gun, all of a sudden, we're going to do something different. We're going to throw something different at. No.
Don't say that. Don't say it.
Run
Don't say it.
Saquon Barkley down their throat often and early. Get you an early lead, put them in pass mode, put Matthew Stafford in pass mode, and now we can have Vic Fangio dial up what he wants to dial up. Pass rushers can go get the quarterback. We're not worrying about a quarterback that can escape the pocket and hurt us with his legs, although he'll do it, if you lose contain, he'll take what you give him. But for the most part, Matthew Stafford wants to sit in the pocket and throw the ball on time and on rhythm. I don't want to see this game, guys, exceed 8 possessions.
How many times have we sat here this season gritting our teeth because Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore went away from what we thought should have been a script for a game? So when you said that, I said, please don't say that. Don't let that happen today. I went back and I looked twice this week at the first Rams-Eagles game. And the one thing the constant that stood out in that game is how much that Eagles offensive line was pushing blue jerseys back all game long. You don't want to play it into the Rams' hands, which is have to pass more, which is their forte in terms of getting after the quarterback. Make them respect you early and often, pound them in submission, make them call it a day. Mentally send them to the bus at halftime of this game. Just keep pounding the football at them, especially with the footing expected to be what we're expecting. See, when you go to the passing game, the offense has the advantage, especially from the wideout perspective, because they know where they're going, they know where they're cutting. The DBs don't. So that's where you get the slip and slides that come into play a lot of times. The easy way to do this, you have the number 2 rushing attack in the National Football League. you hit them in the mouth early. Now, the Rams are expecting it, but because the Rams are a smaller, faster defense, the Rams physically can't stand up to that Eagles offensive line. So you make them realize that from the very first possession, it's going to be a long day for you guys from the West Coast.
All right, on that note, I was just go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just setting you up for this because I thought it was the perfect segue because I know you love these words from our quarterback earlier in the week, Jalen Hurts, when he really put an exclamation point on the idea of winning. Just winning. Not about numbers, not about passing, not about his numbers as a quarterback, but just winning, which is, of course, what he always calls the main thing. Is that not what we ask of every single quarterback that comes through Philadelphia? Forget about you for a second, and let's just win some football games. There's nothing more important than Jalen Hurts.
There shouldn't be anything more important to any quarterback in the National Football League. And I think if you really ask them, I believe that, their answer would be winning football games. I don't give a damn about throwing for 300 yards. I don't care about throwing for 5 touchdowns. Would every quarterback love to do that every single game? Of course they would, because that makes that pumps up their profile. That pumps up their ability down the road to potentially get into the Hall of Fame. So, of course, but at the end of the day, if winning football games and moving on to the next round of the playoffs and potentially getting to the Super Bowl is the most important thing, then his answer is 100% correct. I tweeted his quote, and I said, it was funny. I was like, I endorse, I'm Seth Joyner, and I endorse this comment. Paid for by common sense. Come on, man, because at the end of the day, isn't that what it's really all about? We got all of this conversation that's going on about Jalen not being good enough to take the team where it needs to go if Saquon can't run the football. Show me a team this year that has stopped the Eagles from running the football. Absolutely. Not a single one.
Absolutely.
They've been able to do what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do it, how they wanted to do it. And when they have needed to throw the ball, the quarterback has stepped up and made plays and completed touchdown passes and first down passes on third down. He's gotten it done. What else do you want from your quarterback? Just because his numbers look pedestrian, if the main thing is winning the football game and all he does is win, what are you complaining about? What are you complaining about? I just want to go back for a second, D. Gunn, because the point that you made about the Rams' defensive front being small, okay, and this is the thing that I think is going to play in the Eagles' favor because of the field conditions. And now, if you go back, the first time that they played the Eagles, they just tried to play them straight up, and they got mauled.
Yep.
I mean, they literally got mauled. Then when you fast forward to the divisional round against the Minnesota Vikings, when they took, the Vikings and Sam Darnold apart, you see they ran a lot of games.
Yes, they did.
They did not just sit pat and just rush man on man every single time. They had a lot of movement. They did a lot of different things. Now, understanding that you're a lot smaller as a front than the line you're going to play today, I'm sure the game plan was to come in and, hey, we're going to move, we're going to stunt, we're going to slant, we're going to do all these things. But understand that the field conditions today might not be conducive to them being able to do that. And if they try to do it, it may work in the Eagles' favor.
The one thing I will say about the Rams in terms of the success they had down the stretch of the season as well as the playoff game was they had better gap control, A gap, B gap, C gap, better gap control as they were doing all these different stunts, which allowed the linebackers to come up and fill in a lot of ways. So look for the Rams in terms of being more disciplined in gap control than what Seth was talking about, them trying to play man up against that massive Eagles front the first time around. I don't expect the Rams to try that same formula. And Sean McVay basically said during the week, we know we can't play the same way that we played them last time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they plan to counter. Because as I watched the Rams a couple of times in the latter part of the season, I'm like, wow, they're filling these gaps a lot better. They're not mauling offensive linemen that they're attacking, but what they're doing, they're filling the gap better and allowing people behind them to come up and make plays more.
Well, I mean, and that's the case where, your blocking schemes have got to do the job.
Yes.
Today is not one of those days to run across the formation running plays. Today is the day where you line up, put Saquon, dot him, in the pistol, and you hand it to him right or left and let him hit it right downhill. I want my running back, even if you're in shotgun, I'm not trying to go across the formation. I'm not trying to get, 4, 6, 8 outside. I'm not trying to get 3, 5, 7 on the outside to the left. I'm trying to hit it 2 to 3 hole, 2 to 4 hole on the right side, and 1 to 3 hole on the left side, and I mean hit it right now. That serves two purposes, okay? Because as a defender, I got to engage my guy. I got to figure out what's going on. Then I got to get off the block. Okay. But if you're hitting it right now, the minute that Saquon hits the ball, the offensive linemen are engaged in their blocks, whether it's a double team and we're coming off second level or whether it's just man blocking across the board. The offensive linemen have the defensive linemen and the linebackers potentially engaged while he's hitting the hole. So it needs to be a quick hitting running game today. Not one of those things, and I get it. The Eagles like to pull. They like to pull and then run where they took the pullers away from because the defense is not disciplined in how they read things. But I don't think today is one of those days. I think today is one of those days where you just, you might even bring in Tyler Steen and put him at tight end and make the decision that we're going to maul you all day long. We're just going to run straight at you all day long. Now, if you put him at tight end and he blocks out on the end, your offensive tackle now, he can be more involved without having to worry about that guy being, destroyed. I don't understand for the life of me, even in passing situations. You seen it yesterday. The Kansas City Chiefs took apart the Texans trying to block a defensive end with a tight end. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You're asking for trouble because that guy can't block that guy. He is bigger, he is stronger, and in some instances, he may even be faster. But if you put the extra guy in, you got the extra beef in the game. Now we can run downhill and maul people right now. We do not need to be trying to get outside. We do not need to be trying to get on the edge. You got small guys. Let's get on them, maul them, and hit the hole, hit the gap right now, get what you can get, and let's churn out these first downs.
You know it's going to happen. I'm sure as I'm sitting here, I bet money the Eagles are going to have a series of run city outside. Rams defense is too fast for that outside.
Exactly.
You're not going to outrun them to the edges. Okay. So like Seth said, you got to pound them between the tackles. Tackle to tackle, Saquon all day long. He's a big back behind one of the biggest offensive lines in the National Football League against a smallish, quick defensive front. Manpower is going to win 9 times out of 10.
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to talk about the defensive side of the football, including a major change the Eagles are undergoing in this game. Who will be playing next to all-pro linebacker in this one, Zach Bond. That's when we return here on the betPARX pregame show presented by Parx Casino and Lehocky. Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Lehocky a call.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Oof, stuck paying for that old phone? Don't be. You know, at Verizon, we'll pay off your phone, and you'll get iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence on us. Now with Genmoji. That's a value of up to $1,600. Only on Verizon.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by betPARX. On the betPARX app right now, how about this for the parlay going off at betPARX.com? Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown scorer. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown scorer. Kyron Williams, anytime touchdown. And Puka Nacua, anytime touchdown. all going off right now with the Eagles on the money line going off at plus 1,900. You like free money? How about that? Download the betPARX app and have yourself a good time. Also, Eagles still at -6. 6.5-point favorites going into this game here against the LA Rams. Unfortunately, the Eagles will be without one of their star linebackers in this one, what I'll call a big loss. Huge loss would be, knock on wood, a guy like Zach Bond missing time. Nakobe Dean has had a great season. A lot of times, especially in the beginning of the year, people weren't expecting him to be one of the guys to have a breakout season, but that's exactly what he's had. Unfortunately, his season is over with a patella injury. Now you're going to be looking at Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Oren Burks getting a significant amount of the reps. Seth, if you were standing next to Vic Fangio and he said, hey, Seth Joyner, Eagles Hall of Famer, at linebacker nonetheless, who should I give more reps to in this game? Who would it be?
I think I would test it. I would tell him test it. Put them both in. Swap them out. Give Oren Burks the first series. Give Jeremiah Trotter the second series. If you can't determine between the two series, which one, give them, next series. And then whoever's getting the job done the best. Listen, there's nothing like creating competition. Competition makes the cream rise to the top. Competition will always bring out the best in your players. When you're building a roster or in a situation like this where you have two backups that are vying for a starting job. I think Oren Burks will be better this week, having had a full week of practice. But I've also said all along, I think that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the purest linebacker that we have on our roster. And when you have a guy like Vic Fangio, Gunn, who doesn't, shower guys with compliments that much, say what he said about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. last week, his confidence has got to be through the roof. So I'm sure they sprinkled him in. They probably split time in practice this week. He's probably, upped his amount of, preparation for this week. So he should be ready. And, in this situation, if you could just put it on natural, the hay is in the barn, all the data's in the computer. All you got to do is just go out and do what you were born to do and what you've trained to do. Sounds a lot easier than it really is, but, there's nothing like preparation. I've been there. I know what it is to be overly prepared, and I know what it is at times to be underprepared. And when you're overly prepared to the point where when they line up, you can almost anticipate what they're going to run, you play really good football. When you're underprepared, you're always standing there thinking, and you cannot think, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you can't think and play. All the thinking has to occur before the snap. Once the ball is snapped, you better be reacting.
Mm-hmm. Gunnar, which way do you go?
Well, here's what I know for a fact in talking to a few people. They will split early on, as we discussed it back in the green room. Then as the game progresses, for Vic Fangio, it will be about a feel. Which one is better in terms of filling the gap in run situations? Which one is better in coverage situations? My problem with both is neither one of them are great in terms of pass coverage. Now, you got to try to cover Tyler Higbee, who's a pretty good tight end. And I think if the Rams find a weak link in this Eagles defense, it will be going to the tight end. We saw how active he was last week in their win over Minnesota. I would expect Stafford to be looking for him in passing situations, especially on a slippery field, and if the Eagles defensive line is starting to get that push we expect them to, especially Jalen Carter. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quick. You go back to last week, we talk about how Brian Flores loves the blitz over 54% of the time. The one thing that was apparent right out of the gate, Stafford was getting that ball out of his hands real quick. Wasn't holding the ball 3, 4, 5 seconds. It was 1, 2, 3 throw. And that was the reason why the Rams had such success passing the ball against Minnesota. I expect some of the same things, but on a slippery field, they're going to have to shorten up the passing routes. If that's the case, the tight end is going to be a prominent fixture in that. And like I said a few moments ago, Burks and Trotter, if there is a weakness in their game, is in pass coverage. But in terms of their overall play for Fangio, it's going to be a field as the game progresses.
I will say this, D-Gun, and I was talking about it, on my podcast last week. This isn't a game that I want Vic Fangio to get conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to see our cornerbacks 8 to 10 yards off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to see us, in a bunch of zone, because you're playing against one of the most prolific quarterbacks probably in the history of the league, and there's not a throw he can't make. There's not a defense he hasn't seen. Right. He's going to decipher what you're in and what you're doing before the snap. So you got to be kind of creative what you're doing. There has to be a good mixture, in my opinion, in this game of man and zone. Listen, I'm not worried about Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp running away from anybody in our secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about Tyler Higbee running away from anybody in our secondary. So then, if that's the case, there's no need for us to be passive in our mindset. Look, you can play zone from press coverage. You just got to bail on the snap. If you got a third, if you got a half, if you got a quarter, you can certainly get there from press or up where you give Matthew Stafford the belief that, hey, I'm here. You try to throw something quick if you want to, I'm either going to knock it down or I'm going to pick it off. Mm-hmm. But if you line up at 7 to 8 yards off the ball, he's just going to raise up and hit those slants, hit those stop routes. Converting third downs, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have a hard time trying to figure out, how to stop this offense because they're really built to move the chains.
Right.
That's what they want. They want to possess the football. As far as Tyler Higbee is concerned, I would make a concerted effort to have Zach Bond on him man-to-man. Because to your point, I really don't trust any of these other two backup linebackers in pass coverage. Right. They're just not good coverage guys.
No.
Like Trot is really good in zone. He understands where he's supposed to drop. He understands how to pattern read. He doesn't get locked in, on the quarterback, and suckered because, Matthew Stafford's going to look this way and throw it over here. He's going to look this way and throw it over there. He's a veteran. He's a pro. But when you got man situations, I think they got to force Matthew Stafford to throw perfect throws today. Mm-hmm. I would not back off of these wide receivers in this situation because I'm not afraid of these guys. They don't have a guy on their roster with breakaway speed that scares me. No. Even if they catch a ball, we got somebody back there that can go get them.
Well, when you look at Tyler Higbee, he's one of the best in the games in terms of finding the soft spots in coverage as well. And the thing that makes Stafford somewhat difficult to defend against is he's not a quarterback where all of his throws come over the top. He'll throw it 3/4, he'll throw a sidearm, and he'll get it exactly to where it needs to go. So that makes him a little bit more difficult to defend. But if you get enough pressure on him also, we've also seen Stafford get rattled at times in big game situations as well. So the key is for Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and those guys to push that offensive line back in his face so he can't set his feet. He's a taller quarterback. He can see over that line of scrimmage, but if you get in his face, he's not the most mobile quarterback out there. He will take off and run occasionally when he has to, but he's not considered a mobile quarterback. You keep him in that pocket and make him get off his spot in that pocket, that's a different Matthew Stafford we're talking about.
Certainly. Let's keep it going here, breaking it down behind enemy lines, brought to you by Verizon. I'll take the first one here, gentlemen, when it comes to running the football. They got a pretty good running back on the other side of the field there in Kyron Williams. No, is he Saquon Barkley? Absolutely not. But you're talking about a guy who also had 14 touchdowns this season to go along with just under a yard under 1,300 yards even, averaging 4.1 yards per carry on the season. Eagles able to do a decent job against him, holding just 72 yards, although it was only 16 carries in that Week 12 matchup. But if I'm game planning against the Eagles, one of the things I want them to do is not have the offense on the field. I don't want their offense on the field. So I want to eat the clock as much as possible, and I want to make sure that I am winning time of possession. The way they're going to do that is with Kyron Williams, and then today with the snow, with the weather factored in, even a bigger day for him could break out in South Philly as well. It's the number one guy that I look at on the Rams side of the field. Gunner?
When you talk about the running game, we talk about how massive this Eagles offensive line is, but the Rams got a couple of tackles that go 6'7" and 6'8", so they can move people off the football. But the guy I want to talk about, when you go back to that Week 12 matchup, the Rams didn't have many bright spots, but this one guy had 9 catches for 117 yards, and I'm talking about Puka Nacua. The first thing that you ask about him is, how in the world in 2023 did he last until the 5th round before he was drafted? There's a whole lot of scouts that should be losing jobs for letting this guy slip through the cracks. But you look at his numbers. He didn't have 1,000 yards this season, but he only played in 11 games. He was dealing with some injuries, but he was at 990 yards. Look at his average, 12.5. Here's one thing I do know about Puka Nacua. He is not going to line up in the same spot all the time. They're going to move him around the field like a chess piece. That's his advantage in terms of trying to find a weak link. The good thing is, if I'm the Eagles, I might have DeJean following him all over the field. I just might have DeJean. I think DeJean could stay with him. So I might have him follow him all over the field because he's going to go slot to slot. You're not going to see him from the outside as much. So, I'm telling you, that's going to be a key matchup right there in trying to terms. He's a big kid at 6'2", 215 pounds. Great hands, great possession receiver, tough as nails. But I would have Cooper DeJean following him all over the field.
I love the predictions I'm getting so far. So far from Seth, we got Tyler Steen coming out here as another tight end, which I'm fine with.
Yeah,
Would love to see it. Love to see that creativity and just more dominance there at the line of scrimmage. And then from you, Cooper DeJean following around Puka.
Puka. Hey, guess what? Puka's not even his real name.
What?
Puka's just a nickname.
Tell me it's Hank or something.
His nickname means fat and chubby in Samoan. When he was a kid, I guess he was a chubby
big
kid.
boned in Samoan.
Yeah, now we say big boned. That's what we say, big boned. But Puka means fat and chubby in Samoan.
All right.
He don't look fat and chubby now, does he?
No, he does not.
He thinned out real good.
Slender and fast.
Maybe they need to send him over for some pregame meals. Send him over some chicken and beef.
Some of the mini lobster tails.
Yeah.
No, the crab fries.
crab fries.
He can't stop eating those, man.
Oh man.
Seth Joyner behind enemy lines. Who are you looking at?
Listen, this whole game, as far as the Eagles' defense is concerned, will hinge upon Matthew Stafford today. He's a Super Bowl champion. Like I said earlier, one of the most prolific passers in the National Football League, maybe even in the history of the National Football League. 3,700 yards this year, 20 touchdowns, 8 INTs. Had a pretty solid day against the Eagles the first go-round. 24 for 36, 243 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Those numbers are nothing to sneeze at. We just ran them out of their own building. So how can we affect him? Kyron Williams is a guy that, we probably got to worry about a little bit. You always want to make teams one-dimensional, but ultimately it's going to come down to how we can affect Matthew Stafford with coverage, blitzes, and minimizing how well they're able to run the ball to take play-action pass away from this offense.
All right, what if I told you this? In 9 games in snow or rain for Matthew Stafford, in 9 games he's 1-8. He's got a 54.6 completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a 76 passer rating. Does that make you feel better at all?
The golf gods got the weather right.
Not only that, completed under 60% of his passes, like 54% of his
54.6.
Yes.
Yeah, nailed it.
That's all you need to know. So right now, mentally, Matthew Stafford's still on the bus.
Did I say the golf gods got it right? I meant the football guys.
Where's your head? Where's your head?
See?
This is a bad omen. Your head's already in the offseason? Tee times and whatnots?
That's when you know guy golfs like 5 or 6 times a week.
This guy's already at Papa Golf.
Hey, he is. He's out there. He's on the 18th hole already.
I haven't golfed in 2.5 months, man.
I don't believe that one bit.
That's longer than I thought.
If I'm lying, I'm flying. You don't see no wings, do you?
I see a tail.
Hey, when we come back, Jared Verse decided to open his mouth regarding Eagles fans. We'll cover it all when it comes to fan courtesy, and it also comes to players not giving much courtesy to the fans themselves. That's when we return here on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The 360 Lounge here at Parks Casino enjoys some fantastic entertainment and ice-cold drinks.
On game day, it's the Eagles' job to protect this house.
But in here, this is our house.
So we drank our pickle juice, then wrote the playbook on injury law.
And created a winning culture that knows
Hungry dogs run faster. And we always bring the pressure because that's the standard. And we don't win until you win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Parks. Parks. Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn. Seth, I don't know if you paid attention to this as a player. I know there wasn't social media then, but Jared Verse put it out there in the LA Times saying, quote, "I hate Eagles fans. They're so annoying. I hate Eagles fans. I didn't even do nothing to them. It was my first time playing. Oh, I hate Eagles fans." Now, for the record, he's like a Bloomsburg kid, so he should be familiar with the area a little bit. Why, oh why, put a target on your back? And let me just add this little extra added nugget to this. Walking around Lincoln Financial Field today during warm-ups, he was doing the Hulk Hogan or the Allen Iverson, "Let me hear it," and Eagles fans, of course, booing him. Why would you put a target on your back before a game like this?
Only thing I can think about is young and dumb. Then he tried to walk it back a couple of days later, and I tweeted, "Too late, too late." It's already up on the bulletin board.
I spent my majority of my life in this area. Grew up in the Philly area, obviously. I think any Eagles fan would look at Jared Verse and say, "We got you right where we want you." I think that's what they would say to Jared Verse. Why make this story, Derrick Gunn? Why make this story this week?
Well, because he doesn't care. Think about this. He's not throwing the football. He's not calling Caden's under center. All he has to do is rush and tackle. So it's not going to affect him. He's well secured. He's on the playing surface, so the fans can't physically get to him. He's got security people everywhere you go. So it doesn't really affect him. Now, what it might affect is his team's overall performance, but it's not going to affect him in terms of what he has to do on the football field.
T-Gun, it's going to affect him.
I don't think it will, Seth.
It's going to affect him. There's a 6'7", 360 pound.
I'm talking about from the fans' perspective.
Left tackle. That it's going to affect him. If you don't think that those guys took that personally, like, man, we beat y'all like y'all stole something the last time we played, and you talking junk?
But
you talking junk from L.A.?
He's talking about the fan base. He didn't say nothing about the Eagles.
Hey, man,
he said the fan base.
They go hand in hand, bro.
I get that.
They go hand in hand. Okay?
I think it would have more adverse effect if he's the one trying to call signals.
Listen, when I was a player, you couldn't talk bad about my Philadelphia fan base, okay?
Right.
And my Philadelphia fan base would not allow you to talk bad about me. Now they could talk bad about me, but somebody from some other town, some other team, some other city, oh, it's on and popping. It's a fight about to jump off. Okay.
All right, let me ask you this: when you played, did the booing bother you in any way, shape, or form? You were locked into what you were supposed to be doing across that line of scrimmage, right?
No, but if a guy on an opposing team says something about my team, my city, my fans, oh, we was going after his neck.
That was when the rule book was more wide open. Nowadays, this is like glorified flag football. You can't hit below the knee. You can't have target zones.
I promise you. You watch Jordan Mailata. Jordan Mailata like to manhandle people.
Okay? Yeah, he does.
And when he gets you in a compromising position, he likes to embarrass you too. Just wait.
We'll see. I'm going to be watching this closely because I don't think it'll affect him. I'm not saying he's going to have a good game or a bad game, but I'm just saying I don't think from a perspective of he's not worried about somebody throwing a battery at him or throwing something at him. The only time fans might have some type of interaction with him is when they're going to the tunnel at halftime or after a game is over.
I love the idea of Jordan
bars ready.
Well, funny you mentioned that. More on that in a second. But on that note, I love the idea of Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata reiterating to him, talk about my fans. talk about our fans. I love the idea, and I love the idea of that, something that you would be willing to fight for on the field as well. When it does come to fan conduct, and unfortunately this week, one bad Eagles fan in particular went viral, and along with him, our man Derrick Gunn reporting on it as well. How many views on that? 3.1 million, 4.1 million?
3.4 was the last.
I thought TikTok was gone, and here you are as a viral star.
On TikTok, man. It was on X or Twitter, whatever the heck you call it.
Oh, I'm sorry. They all run together. I thought you were a TikToker.
I'm fool with TikTok, man. Never have, never will.
But your story advanced the story.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, as the story unfolded, then you start hearing other elements of it. Did the woman's fiance or husband bait the guy into doing what he did? But even with that said, there's certain things that you cannot do, should not do, whether it's in a football stadium or an arena. I don't care how much money you pay. I should be able to go in there and enjoy the experience. Now, jaw-jacking is one thing, but what he said was so derogatory. And I don't even know, you don't know how many kids were around him and stuff like that. And I don't know if the guy was drunk at all, but here's what I do know about football fans. They like to tailgate before games. A lot of them get sauced up before the games. Then they go into games, and they're drinking even more so. I can't tell you how many videos we've seen on social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, people throwing knuckles, going to knuckle junctions, people get knocked out cold in stands, people bloodied in stands. That should not be happening in a stadium. And bottom line is, he is being suspended from future Eagle football games. Good, because of that. And anybody who engages in stuff like that in a public sports arena should as well. I've always said alcohol should not be sold after halftime of any sporting event. Now, I understand, stadiums and arenas, that's their big money is on alcohol. But I'm firmly against any kind of physical violence that takes place in an arena. Whether you wear an opposing team's jersey or not, you should be able to go in there and have a good time and not have to have your head on a swivel worrying about somebody cold cocking you. I don't care what the situation is unless somebody physically attacks you first. The bottom line is we've seen enough videos in social media to see what happens to people. When are people going to learn? They don't. People just don't learn.
If I'm grateful to anything for social media, it's that it's highlighted that it's not just Philadelphia. And that doesn't make anything better, and I'm not saying that. It's just that there are people that don't act appropriately everywhere.
I don't think it's fair that Philadelphia gets this label as the worst sports fans in America, because I've seen more atrocious stuff happen. Raider games, 49er games, Rams games, New York Jets and Giants games. I've seen stuff just as bad and worse. But yet that's not as magnified as when it goes down in Philadelphia.
Well, to add to that story, it just so happened, not connected, I heard from someone on the crew that's going to be working the game today for the NBC broadcast that in Buffalo, cameramen and women were getting snowballs thrown at them in Buffalo. Now, I did a quick Google search because I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything.
Right.
But it's a trusted source that told me that, and somehow magically it happens in Buffalo. Nobody talks about it. Throwing snowballs at members of the crew.
Yes. But see, that'll be blown over.
And it was.
See,
it was
blown over. But here, that would be a story for a whole week.
Man, Philadelphia don't care, man. We're here for all of that. We want all the smoke.
But you know what, Seth?
I'm not saying that's wrong.
I know.
There's a percentage of the fan base that gets offended by the fact of the label that they're, because there's a lot of good fans in Philadelphia who understand. But then it's that one or two that step out of the bounds that make it bad for everybody, and the good fans get labeled with the bad fans, and it's not fair.
But unfortunately, D-Gun, this is, like you said, it's prevalent throughout the entire league.
It is.
And now that, the city of brotherly love has this tag or this moniker hung on them, it's not going anywhere. Things like what happened last week only perpetuate. It only perpetuates what the rest of the country thinks about us. But in a lot of ways, there's really nothing you could do about it, because 95% of the people, almost, I would say even higher than 95% of the people that go to an Eagles game, Eagles fans, they're there for the enjoyment.
Entertainment, yes.
They're going to heckle the other team fans for being in their stadium.
That's fine.
And they expect it because nobody travels like, Eagles fans. So you think the Eagles fans don't get it wherever they go?
Sure they do.
But there's like a limit to everything. There's a line that you don't cross. And unfortunately, from time to time, as in every place in society, you're going to get people that's going to cross the line, do and say some things they shouldn't say, and it's going to not only reflect on them. This man lost his job, man.
Yeah, he did.
Not only was he banned from
games,
future all future Eagles game, but he went to work on Monday and found out he didn't have a way to feed his family. You think he's not contemplating the nonsense that he was saying and how he reacted, whether it was alcohol-induced or not?
Okay, but my point is this. We've seen other instances where fans have lost their jobs, who have been chastised publicly for things that they've done. We all see it. Everybody has a phone camera now. We've seen the videos time and time again. A lot of people put these videos on their sites. They get 1 million, 2 million views. That's all they wanted to do. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you being that next guy who may be in a confrontation has to think, this might go just beyond me being on social media. There are other ramifications that could take place as well. Do I want to be in a situation where I lose a good job that I've had for a long time, a good paying job? You got to stop and think about these consequences sometimes.
Hey, listen, my grandmama used to say, son, there's 2 ways. You can learn, there's 2 ways of learning. You can learn the hard way, you can learn the easy way. It's all your choice. And some of these people have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. Because you see the examples, Mark, you see the examples that happen all the time about guys, people getting in trouble for doing certain things. And you would think to yourself at some point in time, even players, player gets in a car accident, wrecks his car, somebody unfortunately passes away. You would expect that every player in the National Football League would be like, I'm just going to drive the speed limit. Nope. Ultimately, 6-7 months down the line, somebody does something stupid, and you get the same situation all over again because their mentality is it'll never be me. It can't happen to me, And another one of my mom's euphemisms is, you can be a fool. It's a shame. She said it's one thing to be a young fool. It's a whole different thing to be an old fool. Meaning that when you're young and you do foolish things, by the time you get old, you should have learned from those things and removed yourself from those things. But some people don't learn. They got to learn the hard way.
The one thing I want to find out is, and we've seen stories across America with fans of getting banned from future sporting events. How do you enforce that? How in the world? What if the guy decides to put on a fake beard and a tall hat or something? How do you enforce keeping somebody out of a stadium like that?
I don't know. Let's find out.
I got the perfect guy I'm going to ask for.
Oh, I bet you do.
I got the perfect guy. When we get off of this, I'm going to ask, how in the world do you? Because he has suspended a number of fans through the years from attending future Eagles games.
Do a little detective work.
Little AI. Little AI facial recognition on everybody that come in the stadium.
Man.
All right. When we come back, we'll obviously be giving what do we got? We got our predictions. We got a tease coming up. We got so much coming up here, but one of the things we're going to do is dissect what I believe is the dumbest thing in sports. That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The beer garden was just there last night, gentlemen, enjoying some fish, chips, and you bet a fine stein.
Oof, stuck paying for that old phone? Don't be. At Verizon, we'll pay off your phone, and you'll get iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence on us. Now with Genmoji. That's a value of up to $1,600. Only on Verizon.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at Ron Jaworski Golf betPARX.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky all season long. Seth Joyner has been very generous with some memorabilia. And guess what? We're going to give it away again. So make sure you guys are staying tuned to the post-game show as well. We're going to be giving away a mini helmet. We're going to be giving away a football. So make sure you're in the chat. Doing it again that way this year or this time?
Got to be in the chat live.
Be in that chat for the post-game show. Give us some great takes. Be in there. Stick around. You can win yourself a fine mini helmet and football as well. I do consider this to be just one of the dumbest oversights in all of sports, not just the NFL. How is it, gentlemen, that while you're getting ready to win a playoff game as a coordinator, assistant coach, what have you, you can go ahead and interview for several other head coaching positions around the NFL or several other positions around the NFL. And this week, Kellen Moore has had interest from the Saints, I believe the Jaguars as well, and, of course, the Dallas Cowboys. I know this is the way of the land. I know this is what they do in the NFL. Make it make sense for me, please. How is this okay? Why is this allowed? Why is it not until after the postseason is over?
Because organizations realize that when they have coaches who have an opportunity, they don't want to stand in the way. And thanks to modern technology, you don't have to make in-person visits anymore. Everything's virtual now. You can sit in front of a camera. Now, as much as teams want to keep their top-notch coaches, they also understand it is their right to allow these coaches to pursue better opportunities, especially if you already have a head coach in-house that you already like, which means that individual as a coordinator or a position coach doesn't have a chance to move up. So you know what? You do the respectful thing and the right thing. You allow them to possibly enhance their livelihood, and you pat yourself on the back. You look at the Andy Reid coaching tree. Look how many coaches have gone. John Harbaugh's coaching tree. And you feel good about the fact that, hey, they were a part of us, and look at how they've grown since they've gone. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we complain about football today being touch football. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that we watched in the 70s and 80s, players would go to jail for some of that stuff now. You can barely touch a player nowadays. Prime example, Patrick Mahomes flopping on the sidelines. You see, and all of a sudden you getting penalized for that? Players like Seth, they would have taken somebody's head off or something like that. Can't do it anymore. No. But when you have a coaching tree and you respect the guys that you have in the fold, you want the best for them, even if it hurts your organization.
I would have got all 15 yards worth.
That's what I'm saying. See?
I'm going to earn that.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Hey, you
14 and a half.
Yes. Sometimes our mindset was sometimes, just take it. It's worth it. We sending a message.
Yes.
Mark, I really didn't give a whole lot of consideration to this until 22, when it became the light that Jonathan Gannon was, behind the scenes talking to the Arizona Cardinals about becoming their head coach. I think if it's out there and everybody in the organization knows, and it was clear that, Jeffrey Lurie and Harry Roseman and Nick Sirianni did not know that Jonathan Gannon was doing this, it's a whole different thing when it's done in secrecy. If it's done where there's transparency, I don't have a problem with it, because if you really stop and think about it, when if they don't do it in the midst of the playoff run, they're going to lose out to somebody else, because everybody's jockeying for position, trying to figure out which guy they're going to get. Oh, that guy just they just signed him, or he's off the market. Now we got to go to our second or our third option. So I get it. I get it. Just as long as it's transparent and everyone involved can see this guy is dedicating the normal time to the team and getting his respective side of the ball, prepared the way that he needs to, I don't have a problem with it, because I think that most of these interviews are happening, in the wee hours, on a Saturday night, Friday night, after the coach has already left the office. I can't imagine many of these interviews are going on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or even a Thursday during a time of the week where, you're in preparation. By the time you get to Friday or Saturday, like I said earlier, the hair's already in the barn, the data's already in the computer, and if it ain't right by then, it's probably not going to get right in the next 2 days.
Fair enough.
I forgot what coach it was, but one coach had 3 interviews in one day. 3 in one day? Yeah. And most of the sessions are like 3-hour sessions when you do these interviews virtually. I'm like, so you let your guy go 9 hours in one day, you're preparing for a game, but you let him go 9 hours.
How long do you think Kellen Moore was with the Cowboys? He was there for 8 years.
True.
Did they really need to get to know him?
True.
My whole question about this whole Kellen Moore, everybody's interested in Kellen Moore, is twofold. First of all, the Cowboys, you had him, okay? And even if Mike McCarthy did not want, him to call plays anymore and he wanted to call the plays, I don't understand why Jerry Jones let him walk out of the building. Just keep him there, make him the quarterback coach, or give him, co-coordinating or a passing game, something. Keep him in the building. But he's been gone for 2 years, and now you want him back. The other thing is, most of the time when you see guys getting looks for head coaching jobs, it's because they've had an explosive year on their respective side of the ball. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kellen Moore, but I would venture to give, Jeff Stoutland the lion's share of the credit for the success of the run game this year. He is the run game coordinator on the offensive side of the ball. And it's through the suggestion of his unit and how he's coached his unit. I talked about it earlier in the year. I see some blocking schemes out of him that in 13 years of playing and all the other years of covering football, I've never seen before. The guy is just a genius. And like I said, it's not to poo-poo Kellen Moore in any way, but normally when a coordinator has had great success, then he becomes a hot commodity. And I can't say that, if you just looking at Kellen Moore, that this offense has been that great. I mean, even from a statistical standpoint, I track this stuff every single week. I mean, the Eagles don't rank outside of the top 10 in total yards, points, third downs, red zone, rushing, or passing on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, in total yards, they're 10th. In points, they're 7th. In third down conversions, they're 10th. Red zone is 17th. Rushing, they're 2nd, obviously, and they're 30th in passing. I'm trying to figure out statistically what you see that makes you, you understand what I'm saying, D-Gun?
Yeah, the one caveat that Kellen Moore has with the Cowboys organization is the fact that Dak Prescott had his best numbers under Kellen Moore.
True.
When Kellen Moore left and went to the Chargers, Dak's numbers, if you look at them, dwindled somewhat. You just paid Dak how much? $260-something million. You want to get all of that $260 million out of him? Who's the best guy to possibly bring that out of him?
Right.
Kellen Moore.
All right. Before we get to our predictions, this portion of the show is going to be called Getting Ahead of Ourselves. All right. Brought to you by the Washington Commanders. Is the red carpet out there for the Super Bowl, with the Eagles being able to host the potential NFC Championship game in Philadelphia with a win today over the Rams? Again, let me acknowledge, getting ahead of ourselves here. They got to handle the business today. But you guys believe the red carpet's out?
You like a ski jumper, Mark. You way out over your ski. No, I'm just joking. No, it certainly is. I tweeted yesterday. I said, well. Look how things have come full circle. And Merrill Reese and I, we were at an event, early last week, and we were doing a little bit of a Q&A. And Merle texted me at 11:48 last night. He said, man, I guess we're right. I guess we were right. And I'm like, Merle, what the hell? First of all, you 80-something years old. What you doing up at 11:48 at night? That's the first thing. But that just tells you about his passion about his Philadelphia Eagles. But everything that the Eagles want is right there in front of them now. It's right there in front of them. All they got to do is go out and take care of business against the team that they dominated in Week 12. And and then look forward. I almost got caught up talking about the next round, but they just got to take care of business today and make sure to do everything that they've been doing all season long. Jalen's been taking care of the ball. We've been taking away the ball. I heard some crazy stat today, D Gunn, that we're something like plus 21 in turnover differential. That's insane because at some point in time early in the year we were like -8.
6. Yeah, -8. Yeah.
Something crazy, you know. So just take care of business. You know, it's all right there in front of us. If we just be who we are and do what we do, then we don't have no problems. You know, when we can get in the post game and we can start prognosticating about next week and the Commanders and all that other stuff. But right here, right now, let's just take care of business, man. What a travesty it would be for the Eagles not to go out and do that today.
Absolutely. Gunner, are we over our skis?
Yeah, you know, might take one game at a time.
Boy.
We saw what happened yesterday. Be honest, nobody thought Washington would go into Detroit and do what they did. But Detroit's deficiencies in terms of health on the defense finally caught up to them. They had 18 guys out off and on the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only hold up for so long, and it caught up to them. You know, I've seen too many times, as we all have in playoff football, the so-called favorite doesn't necessarily come out on top. You know, every now and then there's a David that slays a Goliath. I'm not saying that's happening today, but you don't overlook anybody. You don't disrespect anybody by overlooking them, because strange things happen on a football field.
All right.
And I'll say this before I know we need to move on. I'll say this, and everything that I said, don't get it twisted, don't get it wrong. I am supremely confident in the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game today.
Right.
You know, Mike Quick texted me this morning. He said, "Man, if we get by this team today, Jaden Daniels going to be a problem."
Yes, he is.
I was like, "Yeah, he's going to be a problem, but it's okay. We've seen him before." You know, the first game he wasn't running all over the place,
He was hurt.
so we didn't get the full flow. The second game, I think we were a little shocked at how fast and how elusive he could be in the open field. But now that we've seen it all, and let's not forget, you know, Vic Fangio had him in handcuffs until Jalen went out and CJ got thrown out of the game. That's when everything went to hell in a handbasket. But we'll be at full strength, you know, once we get past this game today. And like I said, I just want to make it clear, I'm in no way afraid of what the outcome of this game is going to be. I'm supremely confident that the Eagles go out here and handle their business today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, prediction time. First, mid-pen bank player to bank on.
I'm
Who
gonna
will
go
it
first.
be? You're going to go first?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Dominant. Big guys always maul little guys, and they got a whole bunch of little guys, and we got big guys. Eagles 35, the Rams 17.
Oh, damn. All right, fair enough. Derrick Gunn?
Last time the Eagles faced the Rams, Brandon Graham and Nakobe Dean had good games against the Rams. Neither one is there today. That means Nolan Smith and Oren Burks and Trotter have to step in to fill that gap. Even if they don't, I'm going to steal Seth's word. I'm supremely confident in this team today. I'm going to say Eagles 30, because it's going to take the Eagles a little while to figure out what exactly the Rams are trying to do on defense differently from what they did before. So Eagles 30, Rams 20.
Wow. Okay, we are all in the same ballpark. I'm at 31-24. Eagles win this game today. Late touchdown. You were 31-17, right?
I just want to remind y'all, okay, that the Eagles defense is ranked number 1 in points per game in the National Football League. They held the Green Bay Packers, who last week were averaging 27 points a game, to 10 points. I ain't giving them 20 points.
All right.
They ain't getting 20 points on them.
Okay. Especially with the 12th man being the weather.
All right. So just tell me this then. Last thing. Who's the guy that steps up for the Eagles, the player to bank on? Who's your prediction for post?
Saquon.
Can we just all take Saquon and call it a show?
Saquon is going to run from here to Baltimore and back.
You know, I'm going to take the offensive line, because they are going to have to dominate today in a massive way. Now, Saquon's success is a result of what they do, but I think they're going to have to dominate in both the running and the passing game today. I really do.
All right.
Let's go eat.
I want to go be Puka. I want to be Puka.
I got some General So's waiting for me. Let's go eat.
For Seth Joyner, for Derrick Gunn, I'm Marc Farzetta. We appreciate you guys joining us here for the betPARX pregame show. Brought to you by Lehocky, all the way from Parks Casino in Salem. Go Birds as always, right, Seth?
Go Birds.
Oh, man.